Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to the Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Today, our guest is Scott. Scott, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So now, Scott, let us know where you live and what you do.
Well, welcome to the snowy Great White North. I'm located in New Brunswick, Canada, so we're right above the state of Maine. I like to call us like the New England of the North.
Awesome. And what you do?
Well, I'm in cybersecurity. So we assist business owners protect themselves against the very real threats that are now out there that we're all facing. It's a rewarding undertaking. And 10 years ago, this didn't even exist as a business, but it's become a going concern.
Yeah, at that time, there was just a concept that once your system is hacked and now there's a scary note on your website that your website is hacked or maybe your system is hacked. So sort of like those things. Awesome. So we are also from basically a tech business. So I think this conversation is going to be very interesting. Awesome. So let us know what was the inspiration behind starting this business. Why you starting, especially like this cybersecurity business? Because I know there's a lot going on in the world, but still, why?
Well, so very quickly, I'm an ex-radio guy. So I used to be an on-air radio personality, and we were the first radio station in the early 90s. I know it's hard to believe. You think, that guy only looks 20. But it was the early 90s, and they brought in what was called a live computer assist system. And I had little children, and they said it was just going to make the radio station sound better. But I was like, hey, they're paying me for 40 hours a work week, and I'm working 5 hours now because I just had to go in and record my voice in the computer, and the computer played it. So it didn't take long for me to realize if I was going to try to stay in the radio business, I better start learning computers. So that's where it started for me. By the end of the 90s, I'd been exposed. I'd worked for the Department of Justice for Canada here. I got exposed to networks and servers and security, and I thought, this stuff's interesting. So I went into the IT field. And about 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago now, I'm part of an IT peer group. And one of my peers in Long Island, there in New York, he had a client that got hit by something called Crypto Locker. It was the first version of ransomware. And for us IT guys, it was like, this could be a game changer. Now, at that time, the bad guys were only asking for $49. But business owners would rather pay guys like me $100 because who wants to pay a criminal for doing stuff? But that was kind of the game changer. We started going, hey, if they can do that, where else can they get to? And we've seen ransomware in particular continue to evolve over the last decade, that if you haven't taken precautions in advance and you get hit, you really only end up with two choices: pay them, or hopefully you can recover from paper files, because we just can't go get it back unless you've planned in advance now. So that, in a nutshell, that's where it all started. Was a radio guy replaced by a computer, saw technology as a saving grace, and then it was like, holy crap, criminals could do this now?
Awesome. That's an interesting thing for sure. So in cybersecurity, I believe this is still a new topic for our audience, and many business owners still don't know, and we are developing many systems every day. Like every day we are working on a new system, but still 95% of the companies are not paying any attention towards this cybersecurity. So in this term, what do you suggest? And in fact, people are also thinking about it, that maybe this is too expensive, or maybe this is an extra cost that maybe we don't need to bear at this point. When we will be $1 billion company, at that time we can go for it. So what do you think about it?
Well, the first thing that we have to know is when it comes to my job, I think most of it's education with some technical support and knowledge of the background. But it's really about educating, because I'll talk to business owners and they'll be like, well, cyber criminals aren't interested in me because my company's too small, or my company's too big, or we're in a small city, or we're in a big city. I mean, the level of reasons is crazy. And as I try to explain to them, When it comes to cyber criminals, it's not that they're after you in particular. I mean, maybe you tick somebody off and maybe they're actually gunning for you, but it's a business and they're writing software to go out and try to infect as many people, as many places as possible. What we saw just 4 years ago when businesses were losing $40, $50, $80,000 in a hit, which was inconvenient and a real pain in the butt. But now we're seeing small businesses hit $200,000. We had a business just before Christmas, 8 users. I mean, it's a small company, right? We're only talking 8 people, and they were hit for just over or just under $500,000. That's not including the downtime. That's not including the remediation time that they had to pay someone like me to come in and go, what's going on? Fix it, get the bad guys out, get the systems back running, get them back operational. I'm talking about just the hard cost of what left their bank account was just under $500,000. So we've gone from minor annoyance to that really ticks me off to a potentially business-ending event if you're not thinking about it in advance. So, and it doesn't matter if you're small or large. The software doesn't care. They're after everybody. They're out there. They're knocking on the door. And as soon as they get a footstep in, then they're starting to look. And here's a scary fact that most businesses don't know. You may already be impacted. What we know from law enforcement and cyber insurance companies are the bad guys get into your computer systems and they live in there for up to 200 days before they actually launch their attack. And what are they doing in there? They're looking for your cyber insurance policies. They're taking a look for your bank accounts. They're stealing your data and taking it off site so that when I go, I've got your data, now pay me $300,000 to get your data back. Maybe you've got a really good backup and you don't want to pay them. Okay, now the bad guys send you an email saying, hey, by the way, we took all this client information, so we're going to start reaching out to your clients to let them know that you weren't very good stewards of their information. And it's schoolyard bullying. They're going to publicly shame you and try to get money out of you. And now the latest iteration that we've just been recently seeing is not only do they contact your clients, they say, hey, Mr. Client, they didn't pay us, so why don't you give us $50,000 and we won't release your information. And the sad part of it is usually if you pay them, it's still going to end up being released anyways, right? Because they're criminals. So you're paying someone that was bad enough to take your data hostage and you're hoping that they're going to be nice enough to give it back to you.
That's the nice thing. I believe nowadays, I think whoever is a user of internet, 50% out of them must have faced at least a little bit of this problem, because there are a lot of emails routing here and there where people are sending some chatting emails. They are saying, okay, I have your data. I will be going to send it to your family. I will be going to send it to your clients. So sort of these emails are in the market from many years, I think, from now. And many people must have already faced this. And in terms of the business size, what do you say? Like, because many people say, okay, we just have $20,000 or $50,000, and we can only get a software with this $50,000. So we are reluctant to do the cybersecurity work for our system. So what should be the advice for those people? Like, what should they do? Is there any possibility that they may get all these services within their budget? Let's say if they have just 50,000 budget for software development and all other things.
Well, what I have found is that cybersecurity is not a one size fits all. Okay, so the first thing you got to know is what risks are you facing and what is your tolerance to accept those risks? And then you would put stuff in place to minimize the problem. And when it comes to risk, there's really only three things we can do with risk. We can accept it, we can mitigate it by putting some stuff in place, or we can shift it off to somebody else. Think cyber insurance, right? And that's why cyber insurance companies get people to fill out all these forms, because they're going to accept the risk. The risk is still there. Cybersecurity doesn't have to break the bank. Okay, but cyber criminals will if they get in. So depending on what your level of tolerance is to that risk, there can be solutions out there, even for small businesses. Like we've got some, the businesses we tend to support are usually, 10 computer users and above, usually the 50, 60. They're large enough to really have a lot of concerns, but not big enough to have their own IT department or their own cybersecurity department. So they'll tend to outsource it. But I've got some clients that are a lot smaller. Small law firms, dental practices, those kind of things, 5, 6, 7 computers. Now, are they spending the same amount as the guys with 100 users? No, because their risks are different. Their tolerance levels of downtime. So if something happens, Some of the manufacturing companies that we work with, they can't afford any downtime, because if they can't make the widgets out on the production line, they can't meet the contracts that they've signed with their clients, and things just get really ugly really quick. So there's some pretty high level things you have to put in place in those situations so they can recover and be going again really quick. And they're willing to invest more to protect against that. But now some of these smaller clients, I've talked to them and they're like, hey, if we're down for a day, as long as we're back up and going in 24 hours, 48 hours, we're okay. So that means we can still they can still get security and some solutions in place, but at a lower cost, because they're able to absorb a little bit of that time. So my advice would be, it's not one size fits all. If you really want to know what your risks are so you can make an informed decision, the first step is to reach out to somebody that does cybersecurity and have them do an assessment. How are you set up now? What are those risks that you're facing? You can't make an informed decision about your business and your staff and your livelihood and all that stuff until you know what those risks are. And sitting around, sticking your head in the sand on the beach, thinking the problem's going to go away, hope is not a great business strategy. Being prepared is the business strategy.
Exactly. So true. So you said you are working on the education as well, like the awareness as well, because I believe this is a field where a lot of awareness is required for sure. And what you are working on in terms of awareness and educational campaigns, are you running some campaigns on social media, or there are some other ways for the education and awareness?
Well, for our clients, we actually have a full cybersecurity training platform that talks about smishing, which, for anyone that doesn't know what smishing is, it's basically phishing, but by text messages. So we haven't done very good at protecting the email, but the bad guys have already moved on to sending it out to the phones, which is another thing. So yes, we're educating our clients and the client staff. I've been really trying to get out and speaking in public, or I'll be on a podcast. So when I was asked if I'd be willing to be a guest, it was like, hey, do I get to educate fellow business owners about the risks they're facing? There's nothing sadder than I got called into a situation. The business owner, they got hit for $258,000, and it's a smaller business. And I met him the first 10 minutes. Of course, he was very wary. He didn't know me from anyone, but someone had referred me in and said, hey, you got a problem. You got to talk to Scott. We got talking. And once he opened up to me, having a business owner on the other side of the desk crying, I kind of know how to deal with that with my wife. I wasn't sure how to deal with that with a fellow business owner, because I felt for him. He had payroll coming due, he had mortgages coming due, and he's missing $258,000 that he had been counting on out of the bank account. That for him was a very sizable hit to his cash flow. So I certainly felt for him, and the words will stay with me, which is, I had no idea. I had no idea this was possible. And this is why I like to get out and talk about it, because if you don't know about it and it hits you, it can be absolutely devastating, not only to your business, but personally. And if you're a business owner or a leader of a business and you've been spending all this time building something, to have a criminal come by and basically take it away from you and then say, but I didn't know. Well, I want you to be aware. There's two reasons why we normally get new business. Usually because a company's been hit and they're already in the middle of the crap and they're like, what can we do? And I have to explain to them, it's pretty hard to put the toothpaste back into the tube. It's already happened. So now we got to deal with it, right? And how can we do a path forward? Or we're getting business because somebody has been hit and you go, oh, it can happen to me. So really, I've been getting out. I've been talking at seminars from coast to coast, to Canada and the US, just trying to get the information out there. There's a few of us out here, and we just want our fellow business owners to be prepared. If they decide, I'm going to roll the dice and take my risks, hey, that's up to them, but that's the risk they're willing to take. It's heartbreaking when the business owner is sitting on the other side of the desk going, I didn't know. What am I going to do? I've got payroll due on Friday. I've got a mortgage payment to come out. What am I going to do, Scott? What I want to say is, well, we want to roll the clock back 6 months ago and put the proper protections in place and have this conversation. But you can't at that point, right? It's already happened. So the educational part, I'm using social media. I try to do seminars. I talk to trade associations. I've appeared on several different TV shows. I like doing the podcast. I just want to get the information out. I want viewers to be aware of what's facing them so they can make their own informed decisions, so that if something bad does happen, they can't go, I didn't know. You knew, and you chose not to do anything about it. That I can't help.
Awesome. So, Scott, have you ever faced a challenge? I think you must have faced many challenges because challenges are meant to be for the entrepreneurs. They are special thing for the entrepreneurs. So, can you share one biggest challenge that you have faced and you were able to fix it?
Well, I think if I look back, so my company BeckTech's been around 21 years now. But when I started out, I call it the entrepreneurial brain fart, which was, hey, someone's paying me $13 an hour and billing me out at $65 an hour, so I'm just going to start a business. But I had no business acumen. I'd never been to school. I mean, I was a technician. I was a radio guy that became a computer guy. Had no idea how to run a business. So the biggest challenge was, just trying to get some business in. So when I ran my numbers back in the day, it was like, I need 6 billable hours. If I get 6 billable hours, I can make as much money. And the challenge became, starting out, I can remember, on Monday getting up going, hey, I got a mortgage payment due on Friday. I wonder where that money's coming from. And you learn a little bit more. And then once you get comfortable with certain aspects of business, it's like, how do you level up to get to the next level? So my big takeaway is as soon as you get comfortable in business, it probably means you've gotten too comfortable and you're not trying to grow or try to go somewheres, right? So I would say to my fellow entrepreneurs, if you're sitting there listening to the podcast thinking, no, my business is good, I'm doing this, hey, it's okay to have a lifestyle business. But if you're trying to grow something and you're passionate about it, never be comfortable where you're at. Push yourself, learn more, try to get to the next level. Because for myself anyways, I'm passionate about this, trying to grow a business because I know I'm providing livelihoods for my employees and my staff. I know I'm helping out fellow business owners grow their business. So when I started BeckTech, I told you a little bit of the worries I had back then, but I thought if I'm going to be successful, I'm not going to be successful because of me. I want to be successful because of the businesses I'm helping. If they become successful, I become successful. And I think that's a philosophy of giving. So whether you're giving to your employees or giving to your business partners or those that you're working with, always be striving to improve and get better and move your business higher, elevate even more.
Awesome. That's a beautiful advice for sure. So, Scott, in terms of success, how you measure your success? Obviously, there's a revenue thing that can clear out, okay, if my revenue is up to this X amount, then this is my success. But do you measure your success other than your revenue numbers?
Well, yeah, revenue numbers are always important, but I had a mentor one time that told me, hey, top line of revenue is for vanity. Bottom line profitability is for sanity. So we all need to have those kind of numbers. But as I've gotten older, success looks a little bit different. Starting out, it was about how do I provide for my family? Okay, well, now I've hired an employee. So how do I make sure I'm taking care of the employee? At this point, I look at success is how is the business? How am I able to get back into the community? How am I able to provide for the employees and their families and their dreams? Without getting into too many details, I try to talk to all my employees about what's their goals. Where do they see themselves in 5 years and 10 years? Now, I'm really hopeful it's still going to be with me and my company. But if it's not, I still want to help them grow. I mean, I had someone one time say, well, what happens if you train them and they leave? I was like, what happens if I don't train them and they stay? Like, there's a meme, there's a joke about it online, but it's true. Like, we got to train them. But more importantly, I've asked, one of them had just moved out of, was living with his folks and wanted to get his first apartment. They want to get his first car. And then I've had their staff members want to get their first house. And it's so fulfilling for me to assist them in trying to get to those goals as well. How do I measure success? Yes, we have to be profitable, but how are we able to get back into the community? And how am I able to help the people that are closest to me, my employees, be fulfilled in their life and their journey? It's very rewarding to me.
Awesome, Scott. That was a beautiful advice, and I think the best thing to measure your success because I'm not sure. I'm not that much older. I'm still 37, and you also look like 37, by the way.
Yeah,
But
I'm 49 in a few months. Quite a few, but
awesome. So, but yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah. I'm also thinking the things about like this, where looks like revenue numbers are not that much important for me. There are a lot of other elements that are involved in the success. So, well, that was a beautiful thing. Thank you, Scott. At the end, will you please let our viewers know if they want to reach you, how they can reach you? You can share your website, your social media handles, email, whatever you want to.
Sure. Well, the website is BeckTech.ca, which is spelled BeckTek.ca for Canada. And I am on Facebook under Scott D. Beck and also on LinkedIn under Scott Beck NB.
Awesome. Awesome, Scott. Thank you. Thanks for your time. I really enjoyed the podcast and I really enjoyed it, by the way. Seriously, that was really great.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the fact of you having me on so we can try to help educate business owners on a topic I'm very passionate about so that hopefully they can take the advice and go get an assessment and see where they're at and what their risk levels are. And if I was able to help anyone out, that's awesome. That's all we can ask for.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.